Good morning, everyone. SwiftGal. We are continuing our quest for the Iris treasures in Lufia 2, Ancient Cave. This time, we are taking in a party of Maxim, Dakar, Artie, and Selen to make use of our various equipment that we've picked up from blue chests in the last two runs. Hopefully we'll be able to make a little bit more progress than we did last time. Unfortunately, we didn't find any of the Iris treasures last time. And in addition to that, we didn't find any. Let's see. We didn't find any. Sorry, easily distracted. Wow, we didn't find any healing magic, which left us on kind of a rough run. So, this time we're starting out with Flash as our capsule monster to give us some innate healing. My hope is that with Flash in tow, we can make a good dent in it again, and hopefully at least get a Iris treasure before we run out of juice. These early floors should be very easy with these blue chest weapons. Like, even more so than normal. If you are just joining and haven't seen this before, Ancient Cave is a 99-floor randomly generated dungeon. The monsters and equipment kind of scale as the dungeon progresses. So the deeper you go, the better the gear, but also the scarier the monsters. So your goal is you come in at level 1 with no equipment outside of what you found in blue chests in previous runs. So a very narrow set of equipment. And your goal is to get down to the boss on the 100th floor, who has about 10,000 hit points, and you have 3 rounds to kill him. Now, we're not specifically trying to get to the jelly, which is the boss, in these runs. Our goal with these runs is specifically to find the 10 rare treasures, which are the only other things you can take out of the cave when you leave, which are called the Iris treasures. So the goal is to find all of them over the course of several runs, and to keep running until we find them all. As you go through the from floor to floor, run into, as you can see, different monsters, and the different monsters move differently on the map. So a lot of learning the cave is being able to navigate through all the different monsters to minimize the fights you get into, and then also obviously dealing with those fights. Now, early on, we're not going to run into too many problems here, and a back attack isn't going to be the end of the world. But if an enemy gets in from the side or from behind, there's a chance that it's going to get a back attack, and that we will then And then you end up, the enemies get around on you, they do a bunch of damage, and then you sometimes die, but usually you just lose resources. And a randomly generated dungeon where you don't know how many potions you're going to get, you don't know how many healing spells you're going to get. Resources are important. Even if you do get healing spells, MP is a rare commodity. There aren't easy ways to restore it. So our goal right now is just to collect all the treasure chests we can. If we find stuff along the way that we can kill, that's fine. But XP is a lot less important, especially considering the fact that we're not actually trying to beat the game. Awesome. Strong is the first tier healing spell. It's not the most powerful healing magic, but it is very efficient, especially early on. One of the problems you can run into is the fact that if you get a very good healing spell early on, they cost a lot of MP. And as I just said, MP is extremely valuable. I was hoping we'd get in first there. Speaking of expensive healing spells, Champion is a really good healing spell, but it's very expensive. Apparently we're going for the opposite of last time. Sir Custom 11. So, random trivia point. The Sir Custom 11 is a type of guitar. The creator of Lufia is a musician and is a big fan of that particular brand of guitar. So this is actually a glitch, I believe. It was put in as like a placeholder. And there's a bunch of problems with the way that the cave was set up, but one of the problems was whatever that is, and so the Sir Custom 11 gets put in throughout randomly. No, it's terrible. It's not actually a functional item, but interesting trivia nonetheless. Blue chest. Blaze sword. I don't know if that's better than what we've got. About the same. Plus got some more intelligence, that's good. That is very good, actually. If you notice me switching targets like that, there are 2 rows. Hey! Flash did something. So Flash, the little blue guy on the right side, is the capsule monster. He is 5th member of the party that we don't get to control. He's kind of the pet character. I also just realized that I started talking about rows and then forgot. So if you see me switching targets, it's usually to go after whichever the front row enemy is. There are rows in this game. The front row enemies are going to take more damage, back row enemies are going to take less damage, unless you eliminate the front row first. So in this case, you can see the two eagles are staggered slightly, so we want to target this eagle first. Usually you want to look at the shadows to see kind of where they're placed, or where your icon goes when you move. Our characters have a similar thing. That's actually why I switched Dakar and Maxim. So Dakar is slightly closer to the front. That means he's going to take slightly more damage. There's a whole staggered tier system with it. For our characters, where I believe it's like each one is slightly less. Is that? Okay. I was thinking that might be a mimic for a second, but I didn't think we were on the right floor for that. Actually, we might be on the right floor for that. We're at least close. One of the fringe benefits of all of these blue chests that we now have as items is we don't really need to worry about weapons or changing equipment frequently, at least early. That also means that when we feed our capsule monster, we can have a lot more to work with. Capsule monsters have 5 evolutions, which can be gained by feeding them. So, actually, I was just gonna say, if we get fruit, in order to get him to the 5th level, you have to raise them up to 4, and then feed them a specific fruit. That is not the specific fruit, it is just a fruit. It's still something he likes a lot. The feeding for capsule monsters is based on, you have to feed them items, and it's based on the value of those items. So they have to be something that's worth something, and the more expensive things that you feed them, the harder it is to basically their tastes become more refined if you give them a bunch of expensive stuff early. And then you have to feed them a bunch of junk to get them used to it again, basically. So we don't want to go super overboard here, like for example that magic fruit we just found. Wow, all the healing magic. So kind of staggered our attacks there a little bit, just to make sure both of the front row enemies got taken out before the other characters. I'm glad you're healing Selin, but you know you can heal other people too. This is one of the main reasons that I was talking about the upgrades, is because with Flash especially, we very much want to get him up to that 2nd tier, because I believe there's a slightly better healing effect that comes in at, I want to say 2 or 3. Speaking of things we want to feed. let's go ahead and do a little feeding here. Okay, Kukri was about perfect there. I'm gonna feed him a couple crappy things just to round it out here. Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna wait. And actually, let's look real quick. Yeah. I stopped right there because I realized that we hadn't actually equipped helmets on most of our characters. And I was about ready to just trash them all. Now, the blue chest items and the magic fruit, I believe, are all 8 pips on that feeding track. But they're about the most expensive tastes. So once we feed that, it's going to take a while for them to be okay with normal items again, as it were. Should probably do a little healing at some point here. One of the downsides is, as you level up, you don't actually refill your HP or MP. Let's go ahead and do it champion, just to get everybody up. Okay, basement 11. We are into one of the first enemy types now that we are looking to fight. And that is the cores. Cores are kind of like metal slimes from Dragon Quest. They're very high XP enemies that are very evasive and rare. They run away, and so you have to kind of get lucky and have one of them stick around when you try and fight them. They only show up on a couple floors. And the red cores, the lowest tier, show up on floors 11 to 13. Firebird, okay. Very high tier fire spell. There's some cores. And that's what happens. There's a chance for them to stick around. It is lessened based on your levels. We've killed some enemies, so it's less likely that one will stick around than if we had just been rushing through. When you are running the cave in a race setting, one of the things that comes up is that you're trying to avoid all the fights you can. And the reason for that is partially because the cores are going to give you enough XP. You don't need more. Most of the time. Like, we probably don't need to do anything else for a while, as far as XP goes. Now, the more you get, the safer you are. Okay, so I think what I'm going to try and do is let's get in first on a couple of these fights. Yeah. Ice Valk. Okay, so those little white enemies are called Wispies, and they are nasty. We will be avoiding. Apparently we will not be avoiding skeletons. Now, I could probably still run away here, but I'm not super concerned, just because, again, we're not in a race setting, and we want to survive. So I'm okay with doing some extra fights. Okay. Hey! Nice. By the way, random note, if you notice, I always go in the stairs from the bottom. The reason for that is because the enemies always spawn facing down. So if one of them were to spawn on the tile above the space where you land, as you go down to the next floor, you want to be facing up, so that they don't get it back. It's not a huge deal right now. It's just a habit. Especially for the later floors, it can be important. So anytime you can, you want to approach from the side at least, if not the bottom if possible. Courage is a defense up. Not a super useful spell for this run. I got really lucky and there's only one of them. That is why we avoid them. So any enemies that can do hits on multiple party members, it can be very dangerous, because if they can do enough damage, it can really I mean, pretty simple. If they do a lot of damage, they kill you. The big thing with it, especially for like Wispies, is if there were 4 of them and they all hit your whole party, that's when it does a lot. And any situations like that, it really adds up. They don't always do that much damage specifically, but you do have to heal everybody. It's enough that it can lead to problems, and it adds up. And if we didn't have the levels we do, and there were 4 of them, they can just kill you. Should probably go through and equip everybody quick, and then go Capsule Monster feeding. We might have enough now. There we go. Okay. X magic is very good. It's a full heal on your magic, which, with all the healing magic we have, means it's a full heal pretty much anywhere out of battle. Awesome. So there's 2 important things with that upgrade with Flash. The first is, you may have noticed that Flash acted much earlier in the round. That's very important. That means that, so previously Flash was getting that healing in at the end of the round, before Dakar, but after everybody else. And while that's potentially beneficial still, it's there's a decent chance that we're just gonna kill the enemies before then. Whew. Okay. So this is what is sometimes referred to as a party room. That being a room where a lot of stuff all spawns in one space. The good news is, we're not on a really scary floor. So this may end up being a good XP sink as much as anything. Because outside of Flash, all of our characters have good damage. Like, exceptionally good damage. Because we got those super powerful late game weapons. From blue chests. Awesome. I really don't want to deal with those golem enemies. Everything else here, I'm okay with you. You know, the scorpion enemies are genuinely the easiest to avoid. And I'm terrible at it. Pretty consistently. Another party room. I'm a little surprised that there were two that close together. But it's definitely interesting. Yeah, we are way above the level range that I would normally care about being. So, all good. The notes I go off of recommend being level, our level by the time you get to floor 35. So, I'm feeling okay. We got 2 red cores, we got a bunch of goodies, we've been finding some easy party rooms. See how easy those scorpions are? They basically move at 90-degree angles whenever you move. So when we run up, they're moving right. So when I got that back attack earlier, that was because I literally positioned it in a way where it was going to run. Because I wasn't paying enough attention. Okay, and I think we're almost down to the second stratum here. A little further than I thought. So floor 21, the music and decor change. It's also when we can start getting Providence, which is the item that lets you teleport out. Yep. The other big thing here is this section is where the enemies start to get a little bit scarier. There's a lot of overlap early on between these winger enemies, and there are going to be some bees coming up. Both of those have big AoE attacks similar to the Wispies, and the bees have a chance of doing status effects when they do that as well, specifically paralysis, which can just disable one of your characters. Providence already. Okay, so now it's just how deep we can go. We've got our safe way out. Those ones aren't that bad. They do hit relatively hard. Or they can, rather. But they're still not that bad. As far as enemies go. I will say, as far as the bees I mentioned go, the Mirak plate that Maxim is wearing does make him immune to paralysis. So we will have that defense in our arsenal going forward. There's the bees over on the left there. Wink is actually a little unfortunate. It's a good ability if I remember right. I can't remember if it's defense or attack. I think it's attack. Boost. But again, given that we're doing generally pretty short fights, it's not super important. More importantly, it deletes from the times they use heal. Maybe shouldn't have slashed that bush just to be safe. And I don't want to wander too far here. I feel like that's okay. Not going too far. We are going to start getting to the floors pretty soon here, where the powerful weapons that we're relying on aren't going to be quite as reliable. Specifically, we're going to be having to deal with, well, see, that is a good example right there. Wow, second round of a fight? Who knew that could happen? Okay, floor 28. We're still in... This is actually one of the relatively safe areas. Those lions are kinda nasty, but they're not the end of the world. They hit relatively hard, and they have a decent amount of hit points, but they're pretty slow. And, that one I wasn't expecting. Gotta be honest. we're gonna use a miracle to heal her. That gives full HP MP. And the reason that that is relevant here is we want to use those at very specific times. So, a situation where she was... Basically, you don't want to use it when they're already at full something. You want to try and get as much out of it as you can. So, using it when Selin was already down. And had almost no MP is perfect. That whole, they're not that scary because they're not super fast, is a lot less relevant when they attack you from the side. And I was wrong about them being fast. Mistakes were made. I've made worse mistakes. I was also right about them going down, or I was at least right about them going down. I got very excited for a moment before I remembered that this is floor 29. And that is not a blue chest. That is a blue mimic. There's a slightly different coloration to it. We're not risking it. Blue mimics are probably the scariest enemy in the early parts of the game. Like, there are scarier enemies when we get to the end. I'm not sure I can think of much outside of blue mimics. No, I can't think of much that's as scary as blue mimics. Until you get to, like, above floor 60. I guess maybe ninjas. Ninjas. Good news is they don't move. The blue mimics, that is. So as long as you keep away from them, you're okay. So if you... The reason I was going by real quickly was because I didn't want to risk it. That's actually really good. Lunar Bears, kind of in the same boat as lions, I would say. They have a lot of hit points, they hit pretty hard, but they're not that scary because they only get one. They only get one action at a time. The scariest enemies are stuff that hit your whole party, or that hit multiple times, and the really scary things are the ones that do both. Hit your whole party multiple times. So fights where there's a potential for you to have multiples showing up. I figured. I will say, I love the fact that the palette swaps in this game don't always do the same thing. Like, that red armor enemy that we just walked past, his overworld movement is totally different than the blue armor enemies that we ran into earlier. And if you were to get into a fight with them, they have completely different stats, weaknesses, like, they're different types of enemies. They just use similar, icons. Same thing, like, one of the big ones that stands out to me is the Bone Golem. Because your first instinct would be, oh, it's an undead because it's made of bones, but it's not. It's a golem. Stuff like that. Like, they look like an undead enemy. They're a palette swap of an undead enemy, but they're not actually undead. Wow. Where are we at? Yeah, we're almost... We are way higher level than we need to be. Which is not bad. That means we have a lot of extra safety that we wouldn't have otherwise. Because again, we haven't actually found any iris items. I would actually like to find one this run. This run is good enough that if I haven't found one for a while, that's a decker. We may want to press on if we keep finding goodies. And I'm okay with that. So the Dakar Blade has a special attack that lets you take half of an enemy's hit points off. I mentioned earlier that the boss of this dungeon has 10,000 hit points and you have 3 rounds to kill him. Now, most of our attacks, as you've been noticing, do damage in the hundreds. We're not going to make much of an improvement on that. It's going to be higher in the hundreds, but getting 4-digit damage is very rare in this game. One of the ways to do that is using fractional attacks, like something that does, in this case, half of their hit points in one shot. Now, half of 10,000 is 5,000, which is a lot more. What the heck happened there? I'm not even sure. Uh, 5,000 is a lot more than hundreds. And that is probably the most damage that you can do in one hit, pretty much in the game. is hitting something with the car blade special attack. So finding one is very valuable. So we're specifically targeting these enemies because of a drop they give. We got one already, which is the Cancer Rock. I mentioned the special attack. So the yellow bar at the bottom of the screen is the IP meter, which kind of works like limit breaks in Final Fantasy VII. Except instead of being based around the character, it's specifically based around what equipment they have. So it fills up as they take hits, and then they can unleash it to do something like that. Okay. So the other way to do lots of damage is when you have attacks that do multiple hits. In which case, Scissors Slash, attack twice. So, the general strategy for beating the jelly, the boss, is to do as many fractional attacks early as you can, which do have diminishing returns. Worth the saying. Because taking half of something the first time is really valuable. Taking half of it the second time is less valuable. Now, 2,500 would still be a lot of damage, but there's only one attack that does half. The rest of those fractionals do significantly less. They're like 1/4 or 1/6. And so at that point, you're getting into a lot lower range. They're still good. You just don't need tons of them. Or you don't want to just have those, rather. So first thing is fractional. Second thing is finishers. And finishers are attacks that either do very high damage, ideally a 3 times damage attack. Hey, there's our iris item. So yeah, attacks that do 3 times damage, or attacks that do multiple hits. The ideal is a weapon called the Gades Blade, which does 3 attacks. Sorry, I said 3. 8. It does 8 attacks. Second to that would be, there's a few attacks that do 3, which are the Hidora Rock. But the odds of getting those are not great. So the Cancer Rock that we just got that does 2 attacks, if you have the right gear with it, it can be really good. So getting a few of those feels very valuable. They're a backup plan, basically. Now, this is not the ideal party to do a jelly kill. Generally, you want Guy instead of Selen. We do so. Just to be clear, we have a long way to go for that. And I think when we get down to floor 40, I think I'm gonna save and take a break. And by that I mean we're gonna cut this video and then I'm gonna continue playing. Because this run's going really well, and when we have a run that's going this well, I would like to press. Like, I'm still gonna. I'll still bail if we end up getting to a situation that's rough, and there's still always the chance that we get caught off guard. By the way, minor little trivia thing there. The front of the crabs on the overworld is the side. So we were facing towards what looks like it's front, but because crabs move sideways, it's actually the side. So we got in first. Curse lifters are good. Curse lifters allow you to do to unequip a cursed item. Cursed items, that's bad. I was talking and wasn't paying attention. So this isn't going to be that bad, I don't think. This is ninjas? Not assassins. No, this is assassins. Oh wait, no. Ninjas are the bad ones. Assassins are okay. Assassins can be bad still. They only get 1 action. Ninjas get multiple. The big thing with assassins is they have a chance at doing instant death effects, and they move very, very quickly on the overworld. They move 2 squares to your 1, which means that they are very likely to get back attacks on you because, like, generally if you end up in a room with an assassin, you want to count out what they're, or how close they are. And if they're going to catch you anyway, turn and face them. You don't want to get... I mean, that's just common sense, right? If there's an assassin coming at you, you don't want them to hit you in the back. You want to end up facing them. So yeah, the actual time when they're scary is when they get in behind you and get those back attacks with the chance for multiple instant death effects. Their counterparts, the ninjas, are a lot scarier because they have 2 attacks per round and have the chance to do an attack called Knife Thrower, which hits your entire party and ignores defense. So for the rest of these floors where there are assassins and ninjas, you're going to see me press into the doorway. When you enter a room, it activates the enemies. The enemies don't move around until you enter a room for the first time, generally. So with assassins, because they move so quickly and very aggressively towards you, if you just stand in the doorway, you can usually tell pretty quickly whether there are assassins in a room. And then again, you can either leave the room or turn and face them. Or in an ideal situation, try and get in behind them. Now, you're not actually going to get behind them, but from the side, I should say. Okay. So, this is where we're going to call this one. We've got down to floor 40. I'm going to continue on because we are in really good shape, it feels like. We've got a decent chunk of healing items here. We've got the Iris Pot, and I think we had 1 or 2 other blue items. Oh, that's right, there was another sword. Was it Blaze Sword, I think? So, it's been an okay run, but with the Decker Blade in hand and all of this healing magic at our disposal, I feel like we can go a bit deeper on this one. So, hopefully you're still enjoying. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one. We'll catch you next time. Good morning, everyone. It's Cal. We are picking up right where we left off with our Lufia 2 Ancient Cave run. We are down on floor 40. And now we're on floor 41. I hope you like the music, because it's going to be the same for this whole video. If you're just joining, this is the second part of this particular run. Lufia 2 Ancient Cave. We're on gift mode, and we are doing a series of runs trying to get all of the Iris treasures. So far we've got 2. This is our 3rd trip into the cave. We have Providence, and we did get a Iris treasure. But at this point, I do want to try and go a little deeper because we've got a good amount of healing. We've got a pretty good gear. We just found a Decker Blade. We have a couple deadly weapons that I haven't really had the time to use yet. We've had really good luck with cores. We'll see if that holds up. The advised level for where we're at right now is to be at least at 26 by the time you get past the green cores, which we are at level 23 currently. So we're starting to tear off a bit, but still pretty good. We do have 2 deadly weapons as well as a curse lifter. I'm holding off on using those until we need them. Currently, we're using a bunch of blue chest weapons. just to do a lot of damage. We are starting to get into to the point where dealing damage to enemies isn't really plausible unless you can get back attacks. Eat those flowers. They like doors. Awesome. Double awesome. I mean, not double, because one of them was red. Red are the lower tier ones, so those give a lot less experience. These ones give 33,000 base, which is a lot. In the races of the Ancient Cave, the cores tend to be your only source of experience that you're looking to get. So I mentioned Hedora rocks in one of the previous, or in the previous video. These are Hedoras, but they do not give Hedora rocks. Hey, I mentioned those guys earlier too. Bone golems. They are really annoying, and I kind of wish we hadn't run into them. I specifically mentioned them because, while they are annoying, they are also really neat in the fact that they are... So, earlier in the game, on the overworld, these were skeletons. But now they are bone golems. And while they look similar, and when you get into battle, bone golems look similar to skeletons. They are not skeletons. They are not undead. They are golems made of bone. And so they actually have the same weaknesses as golems rather than undead. Which I think is one of the neatest things in this game. Not actually one of the neatest things in this game. There's so many neat things in this game, but it's also, but I think it's really cool. Oof, this is rough. These guys are relatively scary, but not that bad. I always get confused between them and the tree monsters in Earthbound. Because the tree monsters in Earthbound explode when you kill them. They burst into flames and do tons of damage to you. These ones don't. Okay, this is the floor where ninjas start spawning. as you can see below here. That's the top of a ninja's head. It will activate when we go in the room, so we're not going in the room. Ninjas will kill you. We have to go in the room. Can we survive this? Probably. Should we risk it? I'm not sure. So, if there are multiple ninjas, and they all do knife thrower at least once, there's a decent chance that they just wipe our party in one shot. Now, we're going to be getting in from the back, or possibly face-to-face. There's no way they can get in behind us from where we are. I think we need to be safe. The goal with this is to get the iris treasures. We have an iris treasure. If we didn't have one yet, I would take this risk. Ninjas in the doorway are terrifying, and even if we're at decent levels, I don't feel like it's worth risking losing our iris treasure for it. So, hopefully you're still enjoying. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, have a good one. We'll catch you next time.